6 weeks on the carnivore diet and you can literally cure everything. I just watched a video the other day on this individual who tried out the carnivore diet for themselves and they had some pretty incredible results.
Right off the bat, my sinuses cleared, nasal passages. I could take deeper breaths. I was less hungry.
This video is going to talk about the carnivore diet, what it is, and what this person really got from it. So make sure to stay until the end of the video because we're going to see what his results actually were. So if you're not familiar with what the carnivore diet is, it is essentially where you just eat a lot of different animal products and neglect every other food group. Examples of this, of course, could just be the meat from the animals. You are thinking of animal byproducts. This might be full-fat dairy, full-fat butter, lard. All these things would be considered fair game on a carnivore diet. You're not eating any grains, you're not eating any vegetables, you're not really eating any carbs whatsoever. It's basically just proteins and fats strictly from animal products. Now with that said, let's see what this guy's success was with the 6 weeks on the carnivore diet.
I want to tell you my results after 6 weeks on the carnivore diet and also why I decided to do it in the first place. So on the question of why, I was a sugaraholic really for most of my life. I was often low energy or very high energy. I was often depressed. I started having headaches and toothaches a lot. I was getting sleep apnea. I'd wake up with migraines and neck aches and so forth, various pains in my heart and my gut. Didn't like it.
All right, so I think that says a lot to begin with. He's consuming a lot of sugar overall. He's not really doing much for his overall diet, and he's probably consuming a standard American diet. And surprisingly, shocker, you're not going to feel good when you're a quote-unquote sugaraholic in his terms. So this was actually the reason which prompted him to try out the carnivore diet for about 6 weeks. A really glaring thing about all of this, though, is the fact that he really didn't note how much he was actually intaking. He didn't note how bad his actual diet was. I'm guessing the fact that he said he was a sugaraholic simply means he was eating pretty much whatever normally people would normally eat. They're going to have a lot of processed foods in their diet. They're probably not going to have many fruits or vegetables in general. If you are somebody who's calling yourself a sugaraholic, you're not really keeping up on your diet very well to begin with.
January, I decided to do it. I had seen a lot of stuff on it from Joe Rogan podcast, also Weston Price Foundation, Sally Fallon, and a video called 15 Carnivore Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. But I watched that video and I decided, okay, I'm gonna do this. So the next day I got on the carnivore diet.
Right. Okay, so the Joe Rogan podcast, he actually does have some pretty good individuals that come onto the show, but for a lot of it, they're really just trying to get clicks, get views, and sometimes he doesn't really bring the most high quality of people on that will just ultimately spew their views. The fact that he didn't actually say which expert came onto the show and was talking about it is kind of suspect. Weston Price Foundation is very heavily swayed in doing stuff that is pretty good for your health for the most part, but they are very, I'd say, religious in their views when it comes to overall eating patterns. It's extremely rigid. It doesn't really cover moderation very much, and it is honestly very hard to do for most people. You can go on their website and kind of see exactly some of the things that they do with it. Sally Fallon, that was another individual he mentioned in the video, and Sally Fallon is actually a part of that same foundation. Of course, the video 15 was a carnivore mistakes. Yeah, it just doesn't really seem like some high quality sources to be making this decision from. With that said, he ended up doing it, and let's kind of see what happened from it.
What did I avoid? So no carbs, no sugars, no added spices or ingredients of any kind if I could avoid them, such as MSG, sodium nitrite, and all that business.
Good idea.
So that includes no chips, no breads, no grains, no rice, no cereals, and
no carbs.
You know, that's some of those cravings, they go away after a while.
All right, so all those things are incredibly true. Carnivore diet, as we mentioned earlier, you're basically not having anything that's not animal, and you're pretty much having zero carbs altogether. So all grains, all pastas, all basically carbs, period, fruits, vegetables, anything that has a carb in it, pretty much just count it out. Rice, that was another one. Basically, all of those things you are going to forego completely from your diet. Another thing that he mentioned was that the cravings went away fairly quickly. This is actually usually pretty true for some people. They often think that when you start cutting out food on a diet, you're going to be craving it all the time. And this does usually happen a little bit at the beginning. First couple days are usually pretty brutal. But if you can climb that mountain after coming over the first couple days of craving those specific foods, usually you'll be in the clear pretty quickly. And he found that to be true with this carnivore diet that he was following for himself.
For me, the cravings went away after, day 3, day 4. I didn't really have them
pretty
after
quickly.
My body went into ketosis. So the body either burns fats or sugars, and so once you cut off all the sugars, has no choice but to burn the fats and convert them to ketones. So your body goes into ketosis. So the body, has a reaction to it at the beginning called the Herxheimer reaction, where you don't feel very good. And for some people, this lasts longer than others. But for me, it was like 4 to 6 hours on day 2. And day 3, I woke up feeling great.
So for starters, ketosis, this is 100% true. He notified that basically ketosis is when your body starts burning ketones as energy if you don't have enough glucose through the food you're intaking or the stored muscle glycogen. Your body will start to either take the body fat stored on your body or the dietary fat that you consume, convert it to ketones in the liver, which can be converted to glucose through what we call gluconeogenesis, and that can basically allow you to sustain some energy. So that was 100% true. And this does happen usually after people are doing a low carb diet for about a week or so. Sometimes it can take a couple weeks. It kind of depends on the individual. And then he also talked about this Herxheimer reaction. I hadn't really heard of this before the video, so I looked it up, and it really just looked like it was something that happened under very specific medical conditions. And I don't really think what he was dealing with was the Herxheimer reaction. I think it was just the fact that a lot of people, when transitioning from an extremely high carb diet going on to an extremely low carb diet and basically no carbs at all, are going to experience a lot of brain fog, a lot of energy dysregulation, because you've literally been relying on glucose, which is extremely quick acting energy, your entire life. Your body doesn't really like using ketones as energy. It would much rather use carbs. It doesn't take as much work for it. But nonetheless, the thing about ketones is 100% true.
Right off the bat, my sinuses cleared, nasal passages. I could take deeper breaths. I was less hungry. I had steady energy. There was no after meal crash because there was no spike in blood sugar.
Probably true.
So I didn't get exhausted. I had more energy to complete tasks. My headaches and toothaches went away.
More energy without carbs.
Sleep apnea was gone as well.
Gone.
I had a better attitude overall, so it was easier to focus.
Cures
mental
everything.
Clarity improved, much easier to speak and to find the right word. I lost weight. I burned fat. Maybe lost 10 to 15 pounds in that time. That was not a goal of mine, but it did happen. I'm a lot of things leaner, going on. I lost length off, inches off my waist because my belt no longer fit.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. Toothaches, weight loss, all these different things. The first thing I do want to say is that individuals who go on to any type of diet from a standard American diet are usually going to feel a little bit better simply because you are cutting out a lot of that processed garbage that has zero fiber, zero micronutrients, and just doesn't fill you up and give you some good quality nutrients and energy. So that's the first thing. Another thing, anytime you are going from a standard American diet, which is usually high in calories, stuff that's a little bit lower in calories and more satiating, you will likely lose weight. And in fact, most people do, regardless of what diet they go on. And this is something I do want to reiterate from this video, is the fact that you can literally eat any diet in the world, and as long as you're sticking to it and monitoring your calories, you will likely lose weight and you will likely feel much better. The fact that this individual did the carnivore diet specifically and maybe didn't do the vegetarian diet or a vegan diet in place of that, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. He was eating a diet that was quote unquote sugaraholic in his terms, and anytime you're eating a diet like this and going to any other diet, period, if it's equated for calories, which allows you to lose weight, that weight loss has such a profound effect on your overall well-being, feeling, and of course, literal weight loss. That's a huge distinction here. So please remember that. All of these other things that go along with it, the toothaches, the memory, the thinking clearly, talking better, sleep apnea, these are also things that can be improved greatly by just having a calorie controlled diet, eating stuff that's more minimally processed, and cutting out some of that garbage that we typically are over consuming on a standard American diet.
Some of you might be thinking, well, that's great, but I couldn't do that. It's either too cost prohibitive or it's too challenging as far as the cravings for carbs and sugars.
We all got those
cravings.
But
like I said, my cravings went away after
Oreos.
day 3 or day 4. Your experience may vary quite a bit from that, but I was surprised at how fast I no longer desired them.
It is true.
And I did occasionally, but it was mainly because I wanted to eat something different, or I was in a social setting where I had to bring my own stuff, and you don't want to be rude to your guest, as a guest. And as far as it being cost prohibitive, even if you have 2 pounds of meat a day, 2 to 3, somewhere in there, you're looking at $6 to $8 a day, or $50 to $60 per week. And that's bacon and shrimp and chicken and whatever you would like to eat. So considering the health benefits, $50 to $60 per week, I consider it definitely worth it.
So this is a very good point to add. Depending on your area, it could get really costly to consume all this meat versus a lot of these plant-based products, specifically grains, are usually a lot cheaper than getting this meat. So going full-blown carnivore is likely going to be very difficult to do, especially if, probably like this individual, you're getting high-quality meat sources. It's just usually what these types of diets try to get you to do. They try to do all grass-fed, all organic, likely sourced from actual farms around you. This is very costly, and for most individuals, especially individuals who are struggling with weight and fitness, they usually don't have a lot of extra disposable income. Otherwise, they probably would have been spending that money on getting some help with their fitness goals, getting some health coaching, and buying healthier pre-portioned food already. This is usually very common in individuals who are more affluent. They have more money to spend on these things. And also the difficulty in sustainability about this is another thing. One thing he mentioned was the fact that sometimes when he was going out to social settings, he had to bring his own food. That's kind of difficult to do all the time. Hopefully we'll have family and friends that understand these things, but if you're not allowing yourself to be a little bit flexible on your diet and eat outside the normal realms of possibilities, this could really cause some huge social pressure on your overall well-being. So when you're talking about health, this is a holistic thing. We do want to nourish our bodies. We do want to be eating all these things that we know are good for us. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean meats, lots of water, get your good sleep. All these things we know are important. But if you're neglecting your social obligations at a cost of all of this, that's going to lead you to some isolation. You might not have the most high of quality relationships, and all of these things are super crucial. So at the end of the day, should you eat a carnivore diet? I usually try to stick people completely away from doing a full-blown carnivore diet. But with that said, you can try it for a little bit, see the things you like about it, see the things you don't like about it. But at the end of the day, cutting out a complete dietary group from your overall diet is going to lead you with lots of gaps. You're going to lose a lot of fiber that you should be consuming, which is extremely important for your overall health and longevity. All of the good micronutrients from fruits and vegetables are completely gone. And although there is some conflicting messages out there about grains and all these different things out there, if you're eating minimally processed grains, specifically whole grains, ideally, these are totally okay and should be included in a health promoting diet. And especially if you are a high level athlete, I honestly don't know any athletes over the existence of the world that can stick to this type of diet, specifically because it does not give them quick energy that they need to compete at a high level. And even if you're not a high level athlete and are somebody who is just trying to increase the overall quality of their life and longevity, having a little bit of carbs every single day is something that will likely improve your overall performance in your day-to-day activities. Carnivore doesn't cure everything. Like the video, subscribe if you want to learn more about fitness, health, and nutrition regardless of your current abilities in life. Thanks so much for watching, and check the video in the pinned comment showing you some fitness and nutrition advice that online nutrition coaches will charge you thousands for.
To tell me you know